So none of our descriptions of the physical universe are truly accurate, but I'm not about to say that the physical universe doesn't exist simply because we don't know how to describe it. Um, the physical universe is not something that we're defining, it's something that we are describing, which is the exact same thing that we're doing with time. Time isn't the ticks on a clock, it's something that we're trying to describe. Um, and none of our theories are accurate. Every theory of time depends on some sort of arbitrary measurement. But that doesn't mean that what those theories are trying to describe doesn't exist. It just means that we haven't figured out a good enough way of describing them yet. Um, Now, the biggest issue that non-time and the one-dimensional theories of time seem to have, the biggest problem they seem to have is how to describe the present. And that's what I'm trying to do with Taylor's theory of time. And despite what I just said, I do believe that some points in time do exist, and that's how I'm trying to describe how we can at least relate to some sort of present. I believe that there are at least one or two moments which were not the result of other movements in the history of the universe. If time itself can be affected by random occurrences, then voila, the present pops up as a result of the changes that the occurrence had on the universe, which go forward through time at roughly the rate of time, which I do believe can be measured accurately using abstract terms, but I'll get to that in a second. So when a random event occurs, an instance of the present starts, and that present continues until an unaffecting effect ends its existence. So that is to say that I believe that the future is not necessarily the same as what will be the past after we've passed it. I think that there's different versions of reality, I guess you could say, that are all traveling forward through time one after the other. And because these occurrences start without previous motivation and end abruptly, they have definite beginnings and definite ends, and points which can be defined as existing as close to the events as possible while remaining outside them. So basically just delimiting between when the random event occurred. So now we have something a bit more concrete, and we can start to draw some vague pictures of what reality could look like. If we do describe time this way, then we can describe the present. It won't be the same. It won't be a description that matches what we commonly think of as the present, but it will at least be a present. It, what the instance of the present would be basically be a miniature version of a static timeline. But if we have these separate versions of the static timeline, then we can start to separate them and look at them in relation to each other. And we can't say from our perspective what the length of our instance of the present is, but if we could travel through time and discover other instances, or if a couple more Einsteins get born and think up some crazy math that describes it good enough, then we might actually be able to start to map them out and judge them in relation to each other. And the bright side is this way you can even go back in time and meet yourself, even if you hadn't met your future self in your own past. The resulting effects that come from your trip will simply cause more changes in time to occur, which will also travel at the rate of time, which happens to be the same rate that you're traveling at, which means that they'll catch up to you, well, never. Which solves the grandfather paradox without the necessity of a series of unfortunate coincidences. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but it's the only theory I found which allows for for time travel, Taylor's theory of time travel, T4, is the only theory of time travel that I found so far which allows for fluid traveling through time without saying that you're arbitrarily going to another universe. It may seem like you're going to another universe, but yeah, either that or without some sort of magical force that's keeping us from doing what we want to do. And I don't know about you, but I don't trust the universe to be sentient enough to have figured out our intentions early enough to make sure that a well-placed banana peel is tossed right in front of the metro station we pass en route to the killing site, which will slip on and then land on a drunk who will shove us off him right into a clumsy 13-year-old who will accidentally headbutt us right in the groin, making us keel over onto the train tracks right before the train arrives. I just don't think that inanimate objects are that smart, or able to act for that matter. And I know that with the common deterministic theories, it's not a sentient being that stops us or anything magical. It's simply the fact that it never happened, and what we experience even in the present is visible from other timelines, which means that there's nothing that we can do to change it regardless of where we are on it. And don't get me wrong, my theory is deterministic at heart. I still believe that once an instance of the present is started, then there's nothing that can be done to change what happens within it until it ends. However, I do believe that in the case of sentient being versus inanimate objects, sentient beings will generally win. My theory, it's still possible that a self-hating baby killer or two will slip on a banana peel, but I just don't see the need for it happening every time. The universe has given us a pretty good illusion of free will, if that's all it is. And I have a hard time believing that something as petty as time travel would so easily whisk that illusion away. And sure, there's causality and all that, but if something were to change in our past, I don't see a reason for that change to move more quickly through time than we did. Like if you can think of time as being, or picture a bunch of strings moving forward, and the representing objects through time. If you cut one of the strings, it can still move forward, and its end will keep following it, but it won't just suddenly cease to be.